What if I told you that Dumbo was never about an elephant learning to fly, but about you trying to become the impossible just to fulfill the expectations of the one you love? What if those giant ears that everyone ridiculed were actually all your features that don't fit the mold, but that your mother swears are special, that they will take you far, that one day everyone will understand? Take a deep breath, because today you're going to find out why you still carry the magic feather someone gave you to believe you can fly alone, even though you know you never needed it. Dumbo was born different. Huge, disproportionate ears, a source of ridicule. The whole circus laughed, but his mother didn't. Mrs. Jumbo looks at that strange pup and decides, he's perfect. She'll keep him company, fight for him, be arrested for him if necessary. And that's exactly what happens. When everyone laughs at the baby elephant, the mother explodes in fury. She defends her son tooth and nail until he's imprisoned as a dangerous animal. And Dumbo is left alone in the world, carrying not only his giant ears but now also the guilt of having separated his mother from himself. Have you ever felt this way? Have you ever carried the burden of being different and felt like it was costing too much to the ones you love? Have you ever been afraid of disappointing the very people who believe in you the most? The story ends with Dumbo flying. His ears, which were flaws, become virtues, the impossible happens, and he finally becomes worthy of the immense love his mother always had for him. But here's the question no one asks. What if you didn't need to fly? What if you didn't need to become extraordinary to deserve love? What if the magic feather was just a trick to make you believe you needed something special, when in reality you could always walk on your own 2 feet? Dumbo is the modern-day version of the ugly duckling, but with one devastating difference: he has a mother. And what a mother. Mrs. Jumbo doesn't abandon her strange son like the duck did with the duckling. She accepts him immediately, unconditionally, obsessively, because in modern times mothers no longer have the luxury of rejection. Maternal love has become a moral obligation, a central project, a narcissistic extension. Before modern society, women already handed over babies to wet nurses and only received them back when they needed human form. Motherhood was destined to be outsourced. But something has changed radically in recent centuries. Now the child is the priority project, even before trying out solutions. The mother's fate is tied to the child's. The cruel maxim applies: tell me what your children are like and I'll tell you who you are. Donna Jumbo personifies this modern mother who doesn't hold back. She accepts her unusual son. She fights for him. She's imprisoned by him. The son has become part of the mother herself, an extension of her ego, a project of redemption. What about you? Have you ever felt like you don't exist for yourself but to fulfill someone else's dream? Have you ever realized that your success was never truly yours, but the validation of those who believed in you? Dumbo carries on his back not only his giant ears, but the immeasurable emotional investment of a mother who has placed all her bets on him. She's not just forcing him, she needs him to sell. Because if he fails, she fails. If he's rejected, she's rejected. If he's not extraordinary, all her sacrifice is meaningless. This pachydermic love occupies all spaces. It's a love that suffocates while protecting, that values while imprisoning, that says you are special but means you need to prove that I'm a good mother. The most revealing scene is when Mrs. Jumbo is arrested. She can't accept others mistreating her baby. She explodes with protective fury. But notice, she is punished precisely for exercising motherhood in the most intense way possible. Modern society wants devoted mothers, but not overly intense ones. It wants unconditional love but with limits. It wants protection but not suffocation. It's an impossible balance to walk. And the son? He's trapped in a perverse dynamic. He needs to fly high enough to justify all this immense love, but never so high as to abandon those who invested so much in him. Dumbo can't just be a normal elephant with big ears. He needs to be extraordinary. He needs to turn flaws into virtues. He needs to make the impossible happen. Because in modern times, parents don't invest for little in return. If they've dedicated so much, the return must be proportional. A child can't just survive. They need to shine. Do you recognize this pressure? How many times have you felt that disappointing those you love is worse than disappointing yourself? How many choices have you made thinking not about what you want, but about what people will think of you? Donna Jumbo's love is real, genuine, and moving. But it's also imprisoning, because when someone loves you too much, you're indebted. You're in debt. You're faced with the impossible task of repaying something you never asked for. And the cruelest part, you can't even complain. Because how can you question a love that's so devoted? How can you say you'd rather have been born with normal ears and a less intense mother? Chapter 2. The Separation That Never Happens, 1,000 words. When Miss Jumbo is imprisoned, Dumbo should finally grow up. He should learn to live without his mother's protection. He should discover his own strength. But that doesn't happen. Because the point of the story isn't for Dumbo to become independent. It's for Dumbo to become worthy of returning to his mother's arms. Do you see the devastating difference between this story and the ugly duckling? The duckling grows up, becomes a swan, finds its tribe, and pursues an independent life. It's separated from its original family because it discovered it never belonged there. Its happiness lies in finding where it naturally fits. Not Dumbo. Dumbo doesn't go to be free but to return, to reunite with his mother, to prove she was right all along, to validate all the immense love he received. It is a regressive proposal disguised as overcoming. In modern times, childhood has been prolonged. There's no longer a rush to leave our mother's wings. On the contrary, the longer we remain under their protection, the more parents can invest in shaping their children closer to the ideal. Dumbo is a hero established in this period of maternal idle. He doesn't want to grow up and leave. He wants to grow up and return. He wants to be special enough to finally deserve the love he's always had. And you? How many achievements do you collect, not for yourself, but to show that you're worth believing in? How many times have you won and the first thing you thought was, "My mom will be so proud"? This is the trap of modern motherhood. It creates eternally childish adults, chasing the validation of maternal life throughout life. Clinical experience reveals how strongly this pulses within each of us. The fantasy of being a mother's object, of perfectly fulfilling the maternal ideal, of never really needing to grow up because someone else takes care of everything. It's regressive, it's infantilizing, but it's deliciously seductive. Because truly growing up is scary. It's taking full responsibility for yourself. It's accepting that no one will save you anymore, applauding every step, celebrating every small victory. Dumbo avoids this terror by eternally remaining a child. He can soar through the skies, do the impossible, and become world famous. But he remains his mother's baby elephant. And Mom? She doesn't want him to leave. Not really. She wants him to soar but always come back. To be independent, but never leave her. To grow up, but still need her. It's an impossible pact that they both pretend works. Real separation never happens. Dumbo doesn't discover his own tribe like the duckling. He hasn't found his chosen family. He's not destined for an independent life. He becomes extraordinary within the same structure that has always imprisoned him. The circus, his mother, the need to prove his worth. Extended childhood is present in every frame of Dumbo. He's not a child who becomes an adult. He's a child who becomes a special child, which is completely different. Have you ever realized that you can be 30, 40, 50 years old and still be living to please your parental figures? That your career choices, relationships, even where you live, still follow scripts written by those you raised? How many adults do you know who technically grow but emotionally remain stuck in the dynamic of proving themselves worthy of the love they have received? The separation Dumbo must make is not geographical, it's psychological. Not flying away, it's flying into himself. But that flight never happens, because admitting that he doesn't need his mother would be a betrayal of all her sacrifice. It would be saying that that immense love, which cost so much, wasn't necessary. And no child can do that without devastating guilt. Chapter 3. The Tiny Dad and the Magic Feather, 700 to 1,000 words. And Dumbo's father? He doesn't exist. Or rather, he exists as a mouse. Timoteo, the counselor mouse, is so small compared to his mother elephant that it's almost symbolic. The asymmetry of this couple is perfect. Mother bigger than we support, father always falling short of what's necessary to restrain her power. In traditional jokes, elephants are afraid of mice. This shows that size doesn't matter. But it's also illustrative that the maternal role is so immense while the paternal role is so tiny. The little mouse only manages to enter the scene after fate takes away his mother, whose pachydermic love occupied all the spaces. As long as Mrs. Jumbo is present, there is no room for anyone else. And here is the father's most important function in the story: creating the magic feather. Timothy convinces Dumbo that if he holds a feather in his trunk, he won't fall. It's a trick. It's a white lie. But it works. Dumbo goes. Only later, when the elephant is already confident, does Timothy reveal, the feather never had any power. You could always fly on your own. There can be nothing more paternal than that. It's exactly what happens when children learn to ride a bike. At a certain point, the person holding them lets go of their hands, and they continue pedaling in privacy, confident that they are being supported. A father's job is to help children grow, allowing them to fly while also providing a symbol of their presence. It's the support that knows how to withdraw at the right time and can be replaced by trust in their child's steps. The mother protected, the father released. The mother ensures survival. The father allows autonomy. Mom says, "You are special." Dad says, "You can do it on your own." But consider the modern tragedy. This paternal function is increasingly absent, not only in fatherless families, but in dynamics where the maternal voice is so loud that it silences all others. How many fathers do you know who are mere shadows compared to their mothers? Who couldn't perform the role of separation because they would be seen as villains, as insensitive, as less loving? Modern culture idolizes maternal love and devalues paternal firmness. It seeks endless protection, but growing forgetfulness demands a measure of helplessness. Dumbo needed the feather because he never had a father strong enough to say, "You don't have to be extraordinary. You can just be an elephant. You can have big ears. You can't fly, and still be worthy of love." The feather is a symbolic substitute for this missing function. It's a transitory object that allows the child to gradually separate from the mother without feeling like they're falling into a void. But here's the problem. Dumbo never really lets go of the feather. He discovers he can fly without it, but he doesn't discover he can live without needing to fly. He remains trapped in the logic of the extraordinary. He continues to try to fulfill his mother's expectations through impossible feats. He continues to be the son who exists to validate his parents' investment. True fatherhood would say, "You don't have to fly. You don't have to do the impossible. You don't have to be a traveling circus of validation for anyone. You can simply exist. And that is enough." But that voice is absent, or too small to be heard. How many feathers magic do you still carry? How many rituals, objects suggest that someone gave you to believe that you can do difficult things? And most importantly, you've already realized that true courage isn't flying while holding a feather. It's burying yourself. It's stopping juggling to impress the audience. It's saying that you don't have to be extraordinary to deserve to be here. Timoteo is a well-intentioned but limited father. He provides tools for autonomy, but doesn't allow it to be granted, so he doesn't need it. And Dumbo? He flies for the rest of his life, carrying giant ears that are both his curse and his glory. He never becomes just an elephant. He's always the elephant that flies. Epilogue. Dumbo was never about the elephant that flies. It was about how much it costs to carry a love that's too big. Those disproportionate ears are all the features of yours that don't fit the norm, but that someone swore were special. They're all the expectations you've carried since you were born different. And flight? It's not freedom. It's performance. It's finally possible to be worthy of the immense love you never asked for but received anyway. You spend your whole life trying to fly to repay those who believed in you. You carry magical feathers you no longer need. You stay trapped in emotional circuses even though you could leave. Because admitting that you don't have to be extraordinary would be betraying everyone who has invested so much in you. So you go, and fly, until you realize you're exhausted, and that maybe true trust runs deep. CTA. If this story touched some ancient chord in you, if it conquered your own giant ears and the impossible expectations you carry, subscribe to this channel now. Activate the bell so you don't miss the next stories that serve as mirrors of your own emotional traps. Share this video with that person you know who's been floating around for years trying to prove they're worthy of love. Sometimes we need to hear what we can bury, what we can stop doing the impossible, that we can be enough by simply being who we are. In the comments, tell me, what's your magic feather? What do you still carry around believing you need to be worthy? I'm here, reading every word. Until the next tale, until the next truth you free to dig.